Welcome to another episode of Unfoodable Weekly. I'm your host, Paul Barron, and today's show we're talking about labor shortage. Is it big or not? Check us right here and find out. All right, so as everybody knows, recent news, Danny Meyer, of course, from Union Square Hospitality, announced that he was going to remove tips from his restaurant organization. Now, of course, that affects labor in a big way. There's a big shortage of cooks, of course, in New York City. That's one big reason that he's making this move. But also, equality in the workforce is another that Danny is attempting to do. So we really wanted to dive deeper into the whole topic of labor. Recently, we saw some very interesting trends coming from a sentiment around labor. So we invited one of the best people I know on the show today to talk about labor topics. So welcome to the show, Hudson. Thanks so much for stopping in today.
Well, thanks for having us, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. So Hudson Riehle, you are the Senior Vice President of the Research and Knowledge Group there at the National Restaurant Association. And I'm always intrigued by some of the things that you do. We get a chance to talk to you a few times a year. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about kind of this whole issue around labor. Obviously, there's been some hot news recently with Danny Meyer doing some things in New York around removing tipping as a strategy for his restaurant group. Wanted to kind of pick your brain on a couple of points, and that really being kind of the future of where labor is moving now, because it seems to be resetting quite a bit. Our first topic, of course, is the labor impact over the next 24 months. What sectors do you see as running the most risk or reward for the labor condition of the market currently?
Over the past year, for example, the restaurant industry has actually added almost 350,000 jobs. When you think about that on a daily basis, that means the industry employs each and every day an additional 1,000 individuals. It's an actual staggering number. And not surprisingly, the industry has really outpaced the overall nation's employment situation in terms of job growth for quite a while. So the industry currently employs 14 million individuals. One out of every two American adults has actually worked in the restaurant industry at some point in their lives, and one out of three actually got their first job in the restaurant industry. So the industry really has become a very important training and development ground for America's workforce.
So you've got, of course, millennials taking a large percentage of the kind of the population now, especially coming of age in 2016. A recent study we just performed in terms of sentiment around workforce in the restaurant space showed sentiment was up around almost 5 points, 4.8 points in the past quarter. What is your opinion on that in terms of how the new workforce is looking at the restaurant industry for career options?
We like to say the restaurant industry is the industry of opportunity. And what's interesting now is that we've always known that it's an industry of opportunity for employment, ranging from the dish room to the boardroom. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting now is, particularly among the younger millennial set, is that many of these individuals are much more focused on the ownership opportunity as well.
Right.
And so you really do see a lot of these individuals entering food service operations to learn the basic mechanics with their eye ultimately on that goal of living the American dream of owning your own business.
And we've seen that in the tech space where startups of young founders and entrepreneurs have really moved into that. Now we're seeing in all sorts of areas in food service, also alternate proteins, delivery models, things of that nature. Obviously, technology is enabling a lot of those types of movements. Talking about the millennial side, now let's go to the other side of the coin, and that is the executives that are running these multi-unit, larger chains and or bigger full-service operations. What are some of the challenges that you see them facing in being able to offset what's happening in potentially a little bit of a labor war coming down the pipe?
Sure, and as you know, for years now, the association on a monthly basis has surveyed hundreds of restaurant operators around the country, and we ask them what is their top challenge for that specific month. And not surprisingly, government now at 23% of all operators, they report that that is their top challenge. But interestingly enough now, number two, coming in at roughly about 1 out of 5, is recruitment and retention of labor. And so, for example, if you go back just a year, only 10% of operators reported that recruitment and retention of labor was their top challenge. So that proportion has doubled in just a year, and it will likely continue to move up. This will be a pivotal point of inflection for the industry in terms of that defining what constitutes a restaurant, as well as that basic restaurant experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Hudson, in kind of a last question here, as we move into the future, and you're referencing technology quite a bit, a lot of automation will occur, even more and more home delivery, those kind of things. Are there any outliers that you feel could impact the industry from an aspect of, labor positioning, as well as even restaurant and brand positioning in the future?
Sure. I mean, one of the hallmarks of the restaurant industry always has been the rapidity with which it can evolve with the country's changing taste and trends and needs and wants. And when you think about it, it's always important from an operator perspective to keep in mind that it is a hospitality industry. And so technology is that tool in the tool belt which can help that overall customer experience. But in the end, from the consumer's perspective, that focus on food quality, on service, on a seamless experience without any trip-ups remains paramount.
Well, it's obvious that the trends are still moving positively for the industry as a whole. And as operators, as we watch the market kind of evolve, I know labor continues to be on the forefront of it. Hudson, been great seeing you today, and thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day with us.
Well, great. Thank you, Paul. Anytime.
All right. So thanks for watching another episode of Unfoodable Weekly. We love, of course, bringing this show to you every week, or at least as often as we can. And I want to always thank our producers and editors. They do a great job. Nathan, Anake, Carlos, Steve's always helping us out with sound here on the show. But also, as you guys know, we cover a lot of different topics here on the network. A show called Rock My Restaurant with Bill and Eric. These guys are some of the best consultants out there in giving you tips on how to run your business, whether you're a startup or you're a seasoned veteran. Rock My Restaurant is for you. Also, Table 42, another show we do on fine dining and top chefs across the country. You definitely want to watch that show as it continues to explore really interesting cuisine all over the U.S. And last but not least is, of course, is Fast Casual Nation, actually our longest show running on the network. Make sure and check us out at foodabletv.com. If you have a show idea, send it to us on Twitter, just @Foodable, or email us at producer@foodabletv.com. Thanks for watching.